Welcome back to another podcast of Road to Abundance. Today we have a special guest called Jeremy Miner. Basically, guys, a quick story. I was following Jeremy for the last year and a half. This guy has amazing skill as a salesman. He managed a business, he grew it a lot. And I just found that all his social media was presenting such value that I wanted to get him on the podcast to get a little bit of his backstory and have him share directly with you some very good gems. So thanks and welcome to the podcast, my man.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for having me on your show. So Seventh Level, we're a sales training organization. Obviously, we started about a little bit over 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. First year was basically me and my assistant from my previous job. So I had retired, I think in 2017. I had a 17-year sales career. I made a few bucks and retired and was sitting around for about a year, not knowing what I was going to do or if I was going to do anything again. And this crazy idea came to me. It wasn't really an idea because in my sales career, I sold in 4 different industries: 2 B2C, business to consumer, and 2 B2B. So I understood both very well. Made multiple 7 figures a year in all 4 of those industries, completely different, just as a W-2 or 1099 rep. And then I started in those industries, people were always like, you need to start one day. They'd always say, one day when you're old, Jeremy, when you're old, you need to start a sales training company. And I'm like, why would I do that? Those guys don't make that much money, blah, 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 blah. And so I was sitting around, probably 3-4 months after I retired, and I was bored to death. I'm an avid reader, so I read all the time. So basically I was reading 8 hours a day, which I really liked. And I was sitting around and I started getting on social media because I didn't do a lot on social media. It's even newer to us now, even though it was like, you're the star on IG. I'm like, dude, I didn't even have an IG account until 18 months ago. Literally did not have Instagram account until it's actually 19 months ago. I had 0 followers when I opened that up. So it's interesting how things can grow. But I'd get on Facebook. That's where it was, because I'd get on Facebook and I'd start seeing these sales gurus in their ads talking about different things. And I'm like, that's so interesting because I know that doesn't work. If I use that, I'd really have to play the numbers game, because if I said that to 10 prospects, that might work on 1 out of 10, but I lose the other 9. And I'm not a person that wants to play. When I was in sales, I never thought of selling as a numbers game. Now, sales management and leadership, when I was young, would always drill that into our heads. But I'm like, it never made any sense to me, because I'm like, is it really a numbers? I always question everything. I always go against the grain of what everybody else is doing, because I'm like, everybody's doing one thing, but is that really the right way? Or could it be a better way? Maybe it's partially right, but there needs to be add-ons to that and make it better. And so I never thought that selling was a numbers game. I looked at it more as a skills game. So when I was in high school, I played football, baseball. I used to be a lot bigger than this. I'm like a skinny kid now. And then I played college baseball. And if you're good enough to go from high school to college, and especially college to the pros, you understand in baseball that it's a skills game. It's a technique game. It's not a numbers game. If you're you're like an NBA basketball fan, you know I'm talking about, if I named a few players.
Yeah, I know a little bit of sport. I spend most of my time in spirituality and other stuff.
Yeah, okay, so Steph Curry. Steph Curry, the guy that makes all the 3-pointers.
Yeah.
So, take a look at him. I'm assuming Steph views basketball and shooting the ball in the net as a skills game, not a numbers game. Because if he viewed it just as a numbers game, and he's like, oh, hey, guys, just shoot it up as many times as you can. Just take, 50 3-pointers a game. You'll hit a few. It's just a numbers game. Just shoot as many as you can and you'll hit some. Well, if Steph had that idea in his mind, he would have never developed the skills it takes to make, 44% of his threes or whatever he's at. I could be off by a few percentage. Okay. No, Steph every day is working on his technique, his shooting, his positioning with his knees and his hips and his body, and what part of the floor he's going to shoot from and why. He's focused on the skill. He's focused on every shot he takes. I have to get the skill, my technique better, so I make a majority of those shots. So that's how, it's kind of weird, from my baseball background, I'm focusing on my swings and my hand and how I position my my hips and how I moved into the ball, and I played center field as well, and how I read the ball coming from the pitcher's hand into where, like, I could see it from center field. I could pretty much tell if the batter hit the ball, what part it was going to go to. And so I would already have a jump going that direction. So I was pretty fast. I ran like a 4.540, but there was other people a little faster than me, but I would still be able to track down balls better than me because I knew how to read the ball because I was focused on the skill and the technique. Does that make sense? And so
I love it.
how do I focus on the skill, the technique? So like my first job that I got, I was like 21, 22, junior or senior in college. And I got a job, selling home security systems door to door. That's how I got introduced to selling. Okay. And so they're like, oh, just, it's numbers game, guys. Go knock 200 doors. You're going to get one deal or two deals. And I'm like, man, I don't want to knock on 200 doors and get 200 doors slammed in my face to make one sale. I'm like, why can't I learn the best questions to ask and those type of things? I didn't even really know what I was supposed to learn then. I'm rephrasing, where when I knock on 5 doors, I can sell 3 of those 5 and work a third of the hours and make 3 times the money than everybody else. That's how I thought. I just thought, like, I'd rather focus on the quality of each conversation that I had. Now, my background while I was going to school, I probably had an unfair advantage over everybody else because my major was behavioral science and social dynamics, which I won't go through the technical terms, but behavioral science, if you really break it down, is the study of the human brain and why we make decisions. And social dynamics is very similar, and it focuses on why, as a society, we do certain things compared to not doing certain things. So, like, did you say you're married or have a girlfriend or something?
I have a girlfriend, waiting for a baby now.
Okay, so you got one on the way. So your partner, I want to ask full disclosure. You don't have, well, you have to tell me. Does she get mad if you don't take out the trash? Yes or no?
Mine, no, because I'm the one cleaning the house.
Okay. But this is part of Social Dynamics 101. I'll give everybody a lesson and I'll show you how to tie that into sales so you understand the way your prospects' brains are thinking, so you know what to do instead of guessing, right? And hoping and praying it works out. So let's say that your current girlfriend, if you don't take out the trash, she doesn't really care. She doesn't get upset. She doesn't get mad. But let's say your girlfriend from 8 years ago or whatever, before you met her, and if you didn't take out the trash, she would get really upset at you. Now, why is that? Why does one human get mad if Mike doesn't take out the trash, but your girlfriend now, the other human, could care less? What's the social dynamic behind that? Well, probably more than likely, the one that gets mad that you don't take out the trash probably saw her dad take out the trash every day for her mom. And that's how he communicated love, because that's maybe how her mom communicated love. However, your girlfriend might not have saw her dad ever take out the trash. The mom might have taken out the trash, or vice versa, whoever the breadwinner was, because dad was on a lot of business trips and was really busy. And that could be female, male, it doesn't really matter, the main breadwinner. So now, because of that social dynamic, even from generations, you don't get in trouble for not taking out the trash compared if you're married to somebody else who saw the dad take out the trash. See, I'm just giving an example of social dynamics. Yeah. So when you understand as a society, how does society in general view salespeople?
Well, I'll recap a few things, and then I'll say why I like your social media, and it's one of the reasons. First, I know you were being modest, guys. I want you to know, like, Jeremy said, he made a few bucks. He made multi-million-dollar before he retired. That's why he could retire. Then he had a passion and came out of retirement to teach people, which I could see in his video. And what I liked is, first, you brought consistency. You knew nothing about social media. You've been posting. You've been present. Sure. And what I liked about your video is exactly that. And I said in my story, telling I was coming on a podcast with you, because we see salespeople as the bad guy, as the people crooking other people. But you, if you combine it with, let's say, I feel that my program, my experience is valuable. Same thing with your coaching, they're valuable. So you're doing a disfavor to people, not selling them. Now, how do we sell them? I started following more your advice on that.
Yeah, because like you said, society in large views salespeople at a much lower status than them. Even if they make a lot of money, they will still view you at a much lower status. Now, why does that dynamic happen in our brains as a society? Well, it's because the number one reason is the way salespeople have been taught to learn how to sell to their prospects. When you come across pushy, when you come across high sales pressure, high pressure in your face, or asking manipulative questions that forces the prospect into the answer you want. It's not like they don't know what you're doing, right? And you do those type of things, they feel that pressure. So what they do is they throw up what's called sales resistance, right? So their wall comes up. And have you ever noticed when you thought were really good questions, that a lot of your prospects, when you ask them the question, it's like they keep their cards to their chest, right? They know what you're trying to do by asking that
Yeah.
question. So they give you vague, generalized surface level answers. And because they stay surface, you're never able to pull out any emotion from them. And as we all know, we've all heard it, human beings buy 100% on emotion and justified logic. You can't make any decision without your emotional side of your brain. You can't even go pee without it starting in your emotional side of your brain, just so everybody knows. We train a lot of, companies that even, sell to other companies like B2B sales. And a lot of times when I go to do a keynote, there'll be this one guy that's like, you don't understand, Jeremy. Our prospects are different. They have no emotions. They make their decisions 100% on logic. And if the numbers make sense, I'm like, that's so interesting, because do you know what happens? Let's say you're in a war in the military and a grenade goes off close to you. You survive, but you have brain damage. And the part of your brain it damaged was your emotional side of your brain. Did you know that person will never be able to decide if they want to go to the bathroom? That they will literally be in a bed hooked up to a machine that when they go to the bathroom does it for them. They will never be able to decide if they can eat food. They can never decide if they're going to tie their shoes or even walk or get up if your emotional side of your brain is damaged. Every human being starts their decision-making process with their emotions. Nobody makes decisions on logic, period. Even if the number makes sense. I just love that. So it's just the way the brain works. So going back to the story, I'm digressing. So I saw all these sales trainers and teaching this stuff, and I'm like, man, if I would have followed that guy's advice, I literally would have made 95% less. That's scary. And I could see all these people buying their courses, and then you'd see like comments like a year later, like, I tried this, it doesn't really work, like blah, blah, blah. And I'd get on trainings where like the sales trainer would be like, hey, it's just a numbers game. Like you got to work harder. You got to call more leads. You got to be aggressive. You got to have thick skin. And I'm sitting here like, man, like, how does that give you a competitive advantage? Telling salespeople that you just got to work harder, you got to call more leads. How does that give you any competitive advantage over? It gives you none. Are you going to work 16 hours a day and now you're going to make more money than the guy that works 14 or the girl that works 12? That doesn't give. So basically, in my mind, that's basically what they were saying when they would make statements like that is, what I'm training you doesn't really work that well. So unfortunately for you, you're just going to have to work a lot harder. And I'm like, there's a big problem here in the market that, friends would be like, dude, you can solve that. Like you out of anybody can solve that with your background in behavioral science and human psychology. So that's how it all started. And, the first year was not great. I will tell you, it's me and my assistant, because I'd retired. I'm like, hey, Beth, I'm starting this company. Do you want to come, work? She's like, yes, I want to work for you. So it's me and her. And that first 14 months, I did 3 webinars. And did pretty good in those webinars. We hired an outside marketing agency to market them, which they didn't do really well. Spent a lot of money. But in those 3 webinars, made like 1.3, 1.4 million in sales, spent 1.9. So the first year lost almost $600,000. So I'm like, okay, if I keep doing this for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, keep losing 600-700 grand a year, like eventually I'm going to have to go back to work. So I got to figure out this marketing and running a business type of stuff. I've got the training down. We already had hundreds of testimonials just from the first year of having a hobby for a business. I was running this out of like my home office, basically.
I want to make a post statement here because I love what you're saying. So basically, guys, hear that out. Jeremy is a professional at sell. He's an amazing human being, super smart. He read a lot, got a lot of background, and he still had problem when he started. Everybody has challenge. It's about staying in the game. And I love that because what I coach is mindset. And a lot of people would have quit. First, you lost a lot of money. You didn't figure it out. And you have all the skills. So imagine someone that doesn't have all that.
Yeah.
So props for you because you knew
Yeah.
the long-term outcome. So I want to just make sure
Yeah.
that people understand that even a
Yeah.
professional can have some challenges.
Well, it's sticking in the game because I knew that I had the experience, the expertise with just the commissions I made as just a
Yeah.
salesperson and the methodology. I obviously knew it had worked, obviously, because I was in four completely different industries and owned all four like very, very quickly. And so then after that first year, I was like, okay, I need to hire a team. Like I need to hire someone that can run the business, like a CEO, because I'm not probably the greatest CEO. I just figured that out because it's different being like a sales professional or a vice president of sales or even a chief sales officer compared to actually owning the company and like having a vision and running the business side. You're talking about completely different skill sets there, completely different, especially
Yeah.
training. Okay, different. So then I found a CEO. He was a client that crushed it. His name's Matt. He's my business partner now, and he crushed it. Sold his gyms. He had been through our training. Like his gyms went crazy out of Australia, Sydney, and I was like, I need this guy to run the business. Got him on board, and then I was like, we need a chief revenue officer or somebody that can be over marketing and sales. And we took one of our salespeople. His name's Marco Cortese, who's now a business partner, equity partner in the firm as well. And he was like crushing it for us. He was the only salesperson we had. And then we started getting more salespeople, and he started managing and stuff like that. And we're like, this guy's so valuable, but we need him to learn marketing because we're using all these marketing agencies and they don't understand our methodology. They don't understand our messaging. I'm tired of fighting with them. Our ad costs are out of control compared to where they should be. And so basically we bought a few courses outside of like the coaching space. We're talking like advanced marketing from like CMOs of Apple and Starbucks and like just bigger companies that have different ways of how they view marketing. Okay. Because we don't view ourselves as like, we train a lot of coaches. That's great. But we view ourselves as more of like a sales training company because we train 158 different industries, right? Not
Yeah.
just like high ticket. We train, life insurance, health insurance, cybersecurity, cars, real estate agents. I mean, anything you can think of that's so logistics, every cybersecurity, medical device, solar, everything, right? And so basically we're like, here's some courses. Take a month off. You got to figure this out and come back. So he comes back like 2 weeks later. He's like, I think I figured it out. We're like, okay. And he got in there and it just went like this. And the
Oh,
rest
that's
is history.
cool.
That was
What was the shift?
about 2 years ago.
What was the shift? Like, what was the one thing that you think made him like boom it?
Man, he's very creative. I've never met a human being that is so talented as a salesperson because he got up to making $1 million a year in commissions. Okay. So talented as a salesperson, yet just as talented, if not more, in marketing. Like that, those are two different ways of thinking, both creative, but two very different ways. I've literally never met a human being like that. So he's a savant in my mind. And that's why he became a partner in the firm because we wanted to obviously, get into different verticals and do other marketing and stuff for other things.
Yeah.
So, that was just 2 years ago, like very short. And we just, we were here and now we're here and we keep growing every couple of days, actually.
Yeah, man, that's amazing because I love that you says it. Like I remember one of the first thing that you have to do when you were like me when I started the new company. I had some money, I had some stuff behind me. So yes, you can lose a little bit of money. It doesn't hurt you as bad and stuff. But at one point, you got to recognize what you're good at.
Yeah.
And I'm a little different. I used to be a very good salesman. I didn't sell for years. So now when I get back, I'm like, okay, that's why I bought one of your course. I was like, I love how he does it because
Yeah.
he does it genuinely for the people. And that's what for me was good because I like to be authentic and I believe my product is amazing.
Which course of ours are you in?
Just the first one. I bought the
Because we have like 31 different sales training courses now. So I'm
Wait.
like, which one's he in?
Let me check right now. I have it here. I have it because I bought it before I went for traveling, so I barely started it. It's the Black Book bundle.
Oh,
And
that's very basic. That's like
yeah, it's one of the first one. But I was like, I want to see what you offer, what you do, because I wanted to invite you on the podcast. So I think the course was $37.
Yeah,
but
that's very
you
basic.
give a lot for the money. But I wanted to see. Like
Yeah.
before I buy other stuff and think first I didn't do it all. I barely started. But when I'm going to invite the guests, I want to see because I knew you from social media. I watched your stuff. I was like, what does he do in his course? Does he provide value and stuff? And your team called me. I analyzed what they were doing, and I was like, okay, this guy is good. This guy is
Thank
is
you.
is someone that I would
Yeah,
love to
the
have.
black book is just, it's a book of just questions. None of it's really industry specific, right? So it's just very generic. It's a good book to start with, but you're not going to have like your tonality training, which is the majority of you making the sale or not, or how you're using your body language and like industry specific questions. That's all in
Yeah.
our like virtual training courses. So that's like a beginning level thing that we basically give away for free. Not like we don't make money off $37. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But most of those people get into like our NEPQ 2.0 virtual training portal. That's like a 16-hour portal plus 2 training calls a week. Then they
Yeah.
get into like our advanced NEPQ 3.0 portal. That's a 47-hour virtual training portal plus like 17 different sales training calls a week on different subjects that you pick depending on your time zone. Some of those are done by me and then our other sales trainers. And then we have like advanced inner circle, which is with me and like our most advanced trainers, 4 training calls a week plus more portal. And
Yeah.
that's more like industry specific
But
scripting.
I'm sure they're all amazing. And the thing is,
Some
honestly,
would say, yeah.
honestly, it's like I like to buy the first one at first to see what value you get. And the thing is, to be 100% honest, this year I was in Platinum Tony Robbins and 2 other programs, so I was saturated with content. Actually, now that I'm going to be a dad, I pulled up on all the personal development. I've been traveling every month for the year. Now I need to
Crazy.
settle down and focus on business. But like I said, I watched the beginning and like kind of how your team operates, and I know that what you're teaching is valuable, and that's why I wanted you here, because I feel like you're the man that could get people change their mind about salespeople, because the way
Yeah.
that you explain
Yeah.
stuff
So our mission at 7th level. So 7th level, just so everybody knows, and I won't go through the whole part of why I named the company 7th level, but 7th level stands for the 7th level of perfection. So becoming perfected in the art of sales, persuasion, influence, but for the consumers, uh, consumers advantage. Does that make sense? Because I don't, like, as a salesperson, when I sold and as a sales training company, we don't view sales like you would normally be taught to view it. Like it's adversarial, you against the prospect, trying to win them over, manipulate them, pressure them so you make money. See, that's what average salespeople do in our day and age.
Yeah.
You want to be a top 1% earning salesperson that makes hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, if not more in commissions. You have to start viewing selling as being collaborative, you working with the prospects to help them find and solve their problems to get what they want. So our mission at 7th level is to have society view the profession of sales like they would view the profession of being an attorney or a doctor or some corporate position. Because if you really think about it, your prospects are the ones that have the problems, not you. Am I right? Your prospects have the problems. Now you have the solution to solve those problems. So that's the way I always looked at it. And I don't understand. I know because they've been trained. But if your prospects have all the problems and your solution solves those, then why are you acting like that? Why are you acting needy? Why are you acting aggressive? Why are you acting like high pressure? Because everybody knows in the world, when you push a human being and try to pressure them, what do they do back? They push back. That's just behavioral science 101, right? So you don't like being pushed by salespeople. So why the hell do you think your prospects enjoy being pushed? They don't, right? So, but now I realize salespeople listening, it's not your fault. You were trained that way.
Yeah.
It's not your fault, but it is your what? It is your problem. That's the problem, right? The problem that we don't know we have. Because if you don't know what your problems are, how do you know how to solve them? So 7 levels of organization, our purpose as a company is to change how sales and selling is viewed in society at large. Now we're getting there. It's going to take a while. We trained about 500, close to a little bit over 500 some thousand salespeople in the last 3.5, 4 years. So we're getting there. We're making a dent, but it'll take decades before we accomplish our mission. But we'll still
You're
be
in it
here
for the long goal.
in the
And
long
what I
run.
like to say is, ignorance is okay, but now that you know, you cannot go back and say you didn't know. So Jeremy was there and told you guys it's like it's not the right way. And when I was selling, it was all the numbers game. That's what everybody says. Oh, every no that you get is getting you closer to the yes. But
I mean,
I never,
technically it is, but why would you want to get so many no's?
yeah,
Like, why not get a lot more yeses? I don't understand. Like, every no you get closer to yes. Okay, I get that your sales manager's telling you that because you just haven't acquired a high level of sales ability to get far more yeses. So they're trying to make you feel better. But the problem with that type of thing is if you're in sales leadership and you start to train your salespeople that it's just a numbers game, the problem is they're not going to ever really focus on their skills game and each conversation. What did I do wrong in that conversation? When I opened up that cold call, what triggered that prospect to say, "Oh, not interested"? Did the prospect wake up that morning and say, "You know what? If a salesperson calls today at 3:15, right when they say, 'Hi, my name is, I'm with XYZ company, and the reason why I was calling you was,'" did they like train themselves to be like, "Okay, right when they say that, I'm going to say not interested"? No, that was a triggered reaction based
yeah,
on you, the salesperson, and what you were saying, and especially how your tone came across that triggered them to react that way to you. So why not learn like, okay, I'm getting this reaction so much. My tone is probably way off. I probably sound too salesy. I'm talking too fast. I'm being too aggressive. Okay.
mhm,
I'm not triggering curiosity. And
yeah,
is what I'm saying really the right words? Like if I'm saying, "Hi, my name is, I'm with XYZ company. The reason why I called was," well, if all other salespeople from every industry that cold called the same prospect every week are saying something similar and I sound like them, what is that going to trigger in the prospect's brain? Well, it's going to trigger fight
trauma,
or flight mode because
yeah,
it goes into their survival part of their brain, the reptilian part of their brain, as some people call it, that triggers that because they're trying to keep safe from salespeople, not the saber-toothed tiger.
yeah,
However, once I learned how to come across more neutral, more unbiased, like
detach,
I'm not quite sure we could even help yet. I'd have to know more, right? You're more unbiased. Your
yeah,
tone shifts into more of a collective tone. Now, what I mean by collective, you can still be assertive, but you're collective and you're calm like an expert is.
yeah,
Experts don't get nervous and talk fast when dealing with a prospect. They slow down and they verbal pause, and we call it verbal pacing, and it triggers curiosity to cause the prospect to lean in. Like, I'll give you an example. Let me give you an example of a cold call.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so let me give you an example. So there's a bunch of there's different types of tone. There's a curious tone. There's a confused tone.
mhm,
I'm not understanding when you said X. How did you mean by that? See, that's a confused tone. Now that
yeah,
confused tone causes the prospect
to
see
open up,
to open up. Do you know why? Because when I act in a confused tone, they're like, "Oh, he doesn't understand what I'm saying. I need to give him better clarification." Does that make sense? Now, if I
yeah,
did not ask that in a confused tone, if I said, "How do you mean by that?" like in a mean tone, like more aggressive, they're going to get defensive. I could say the
yeah,
same words, but because my tone shifts, I'm going to get a completely different reaction from the prospect based on my tone, because your tone is how your prospect interprets the intention behind every question you ask. Let me repeat that for everybody. Your tone is how your prospect interprets why you're asking the question. Okay. So you got a curious tone, a confused tone, you've got a challenging tone, and you've got a concerned tone, the 4 C's. Now, do you know how to use your tone at each stage of the sales cycle and different questions to get the prospect to open up? If you don't, that just means you're losing tons of sales that you could be making, right? So I'll give you an example, because I just did this for a big company that we train. We train a lot of people in this space as well. It's the distressed property space, so like real estate. You see we'll buy your home for cash 30 days, and they get leads off that and they call them, or they'll cold call like distressed properties that are going into foreclosure. Well, do you know what they mainly do when they call? Hi, is this John? Hey, John, my name is XYZ. I'm with
Yeah.
ABC Company. And the reason why I was calling you was, oh, we're not interested in selling the home. So they're like, how do you cold call? Like, okay, well, let me show you. You got to trigger curiosity. So I'm like, is there a place in your county, because most states you can do this, where you can go print off the county tax records of these homes? They're like, yeah, we can print off any tax record of any home, whether it's new, old, doesn't matter. Okay, I'm like, I want you to print off every single property tax of any house homeowner you're going to call, because this has to be real. Like, you're even going to go like this where they can hear it on the phone, because it triggers what? It's a pattern. It triggers curiosity. So when I call, instead of saying, hi, my name is, I'm going to call, hold on, let me get a drink of water. Got to have the right tone here, man.
Go ahead. I love this. It's thinking out of the box. I love it, guys. You better watch this.
Yeah, is this John? Yeah, John, Jeremy Miner, I'm holding a copy of your property tax records on the, I guess it's your home on 55 Willow Drive, and I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment. Now, stop right there. What do you think the prospect's going to say? No, not interested. They're going to say, property tax records, or who are you again, or what? You have my property tax records. See, automatically, see how I'm going like this? I want them to hear that on the phone.
It looks official.
And because they're going to be like, oh, property. Nobody's going to hang up on the phone when you're like, I'm holding a copy of your, yeah, it's just Jeremy Miner. I downplay myself. Yeah, it's just Jane Kelleher. I'm holding a copy of your property tax records on the home at 55 Willow Drive, and I was wondering if you could possibly help me out for a moment. Sure. Yeah. What's going on? Who are you with? Well, and I'm not even sure if it would make sense for us to even talk, but I represent a group of investors who are looking to acquire. They're looking to purchase about 4 to 5 properties there on your block. There's like 3 blocks that they're looking to buy properties. And I looked at your property tax records and some of the taxes owed. And I was calling to see if you would be opposed to having a brief conversation about how we might be able to help you with some of that. And I lower my tone. Now, what did I just do there? See, I'm still going like this. Why am I slowing down? Why not talk fast? Because I did a reel on that, and the people who understand says like, oh my gosh, that's a pattern up, like that works so well. And then people are like, I just did this today. Like, oh my gosh, I'm getting 7 out of 10 people to talk to me where I was getting like 7 out of 7,000 before just by doing this. And their tone probably sucks. Or they learn tonality from us, it get even better. But then a few people were like, oh, that's too slow for a cold call. You got to talk fast to get as much information in. And I'm like, that's why you're getting most people to hang up on you, because you sound like a freaking salesperson. I don't sound like a salesperson. I act confused, like I need help.
Do you lower it down so people kind of pay more attention? Because if your tone go down, they need to.
I lower my tone because that triggers engagement. I'm going like this, and I'm not even, and I'm basically pushing them away. Like, I'm not even sure if it makes sense for us to even talk. So like, I'm not trying to sell them. I'm basically pushing them away. Yeah, and I'm looking at your tax records, and I'm not quite sure if it even makes sense for us to have a conversation. But I was looking at some of the taxes owed, and I represent a group of several investors that are looking to acquire 5 properties. There's like a 3-block area right next to Willow Lane where you're at, and like I said, I was looking at some of the taxes that you owed on the property, and I called to see if you would be opposed to maybe having a brief conversation to see if we could even help you with any of that. And I lower my voice into a concerned tone. Why would I lower it into a soft, concerned tone?
To make them react.
I'm looking at your taxes, and I'm concerned for them, which causes them to be like, you could help me? I mean, when we were training clients to do this and we were monitoring, they were getting over, it's like 72 point some percent that we're having a full-blown conversation and booking with them. You tell me anything else that's going to get 7 out of 10 people to answer a cold call where they don't even know you from Adam or Eve, and they're booking with you 10 minutes later. It's because I understand how the brain works, And if I slow down and act confused in certain areas, especially at the beginning, because the main thing you have to do in sales is you have to get the prospect to let their guard down. And
Yeah.
especially on a cold call, their guard can go up quickly and it's over, right? So I have to get them to lower their guard by basically acting a little bit confused where they try to help me, right? Instead of being like all like Mr. like I'm in your face, I'm so awesome, like they're just going to hang the phone up, right? Because
Yeah.
every salesperson does that to them. Now, once I get in the conversation, I don't act confused later on. I start
Then
acting
you're
like
sure of
an
yourself.
expert.
Yeah. Then there's a lot of other technique that we can go. And one thing I like is I studied mindset. That's my specialty. So subconscious mind and all that. And everything you say, I can confirm it's true. And that's why I really liked when I started following you on
Yeah.
IG of the first stuff. I liked how you explained why you do certain stuff. And I can
And it's
already
hard to
see
do that in
some.
a 60-second reel, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And it's, I can already see people like, yeah, but again, it's a salesman. It's not honest because, guys, what you have to remember is it doesn't matter what he used as an hook to get in the conversation because at the end of the day, Jeremy knows that his product is helping and good for the person.
Yeah.
If your product is good and what you're selling, you believe in it and it's doing good for the people,
Yeah.
it's not being a bad person to put a nice hook to get them in the
I'm
conversation that
literally,
they're
like, if I
open to
sold in that
understand.
industry, I've got their property tax records printed out, and I know they're about to go through a foreclosure, and it's going to destroy their credit, and their finance
Yeah,
will last for the next 10 to 15 years. Without me buying their home to get them out of there, they're screwed if I'm selling that
exactly.
industry, right? If I'm selling life insurance, if I can't communicate properly to get the right financial protection for their family when one spouse dies, which is when, not if,
Yeah,
there is no if with dying. When one spouse dies, the rest of their family are either going to be financially protected for the rest of their lives or they're going to be hosed. So I
yeah,
understand with any product or service I'm selling, if I don't know how to communicate to them the right way and they don't purchase, whose fault is that? That's mine. That's my
yeah.
responsibility, not the prospects. And that's how I viewed selling when I was in the trenches. And that's how we train salespeople with the right questions, the right tone. And we focus on the skills game. And that's why we have tens of thousands of testimonials already.
Yeah. And it's amazing. And again, it's just that people have trauma and they have their old story. And because the salesmen have been doing such a bad job in the past, that's why we have to use those new technique that would be like, oh shit, maybe he's not saying, but doing that will open them up, and then
Yeah.
you can actually
Yeah,
help them because
you have to view yourself as what we call problem finder and problem solver, not a product pusher. See, most of your
yeah,
prospects when you first start talking to them don't even really understand they have a problem, right? Or maybe they know they have a problem, but they don't understand the depth and how bad the problem really
yeah,
is. They especially don't understand the consequences of what happens if they don't do anything about solving the problem. So we train our clients to not only help the prospect find one problem, because even average salespeople can do that. We help the prospect find 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 other problems they didn't realize they have. And that creates such a big gap from where
yeah.
they are to where they now see they could be. It triggers so much internal tension in
Emotion,
them. Okay, what's the biggest emotional driver in a human being that causes them to want to change themselves? It's
fear.
pain and fear of future pain. Those are the two biggest emotions that causes them to want to change themselves, not you telling them they should change, because we know
Yeah,
that's not very persuasive, right? That goes in. So that's the difference. And we train salespeople to work with human behavior, work with the way their brain's already going rather than work against it. And that's why we're able to duplicate in every industry. Yeah.
thank you very much for your
Yeah.
teaching. I know that you're a little stressed on time, so I'll ask you for one more thing first. What's one quick advice that you could tell everybody, and then I would love you to tell them where they can find you, and if anybody needs help with
Yeah.
sales, that's why I
Yeah.
wanted to bring you in.
Sure. Well, if you're a sales professional or a business owner or entrepreneur or a coach or consultant or a contractor or anybody who's trying to get more clients, sell more products or services, you want to start really focusing on, like, what are you doing to gain that ability to do that? Like, if you're at a certain income level now as a salesperson or a business owner, how are you going to double, triple, quadruple that number
Mhm.
selling the same way you are now that's gotten you to that number? Are you going to work twice as many hours to double your sales? You're going to go from 10 hours a day to 20 hours a day? Probably not going to last that long, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to get there, you have to do what? You just simply acquire a much more advanced sales ability than you currently have, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is, while you're, whatever training you're in, hopefully it's good, because there's a lot of stuff that's, I would say, not so good, but that's a whole nother story. Are you learning that on a daily basis? So when you're driving around your car, what are you listening to? Are you listening to your favorite Taylor Swift song or AC/DC? You listen to your favorite political channel because you're Republican or Democrat or whatever you believe. How much money is that making you every month? Zero. Bagels. So you want to start acquiring a much higher advanced sales ability. Start listening to sales training while you're driving around to appointments, grocery stores, church, networking events, social event. I can assure you start doing that 30, 45 minutes a day, because I know probably everybody in here drives somewhere. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 5 minutes here. Could be a 30-minute commute each way. I can assure you start doing that for a week, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 5 years. You're going to sell way more than you are now, because it's subconsciously, it just gets in your mind. Everybody asks me, like, Jeremy, what's your superpower? How did you make millions of dollars a year as a W-2 salesperson? Do you know what it was? My superpower? I simply outlearned everyone else.
I love it. What was your favorite book, out of curiosity?
I've read almost 1,400 for sales persuasion influence, read or listened to in my car. There's some great books. Off the top of my head, there's one of my professors, Robert Cialdini, Persuasion. That's a great book. He's a behavioral scientist here at Arizona State University. That's a great book.
Is it like red, white, and blue, something like that?
No, it's right here. It's orange. Can you see that? No, you can't see that. It's orange.
Oh,
it's called Persuasion. It's orange. It's a good book.
I'll
that's
get
a good
it.
Book. If they want to get one of our books, they can go to barnesandnoble.com. So just go to barnesandnoble.com. This is our new book. It's a Barnes & Noble bestseller, Wall Street Journal bestseller, Amazon bestseller. It was just released about 3.5 months ago. And this is a lot of tactical training. Like the black book you got, I just kept it very, very generic. This has more
info?
More industry-specific examples. Now, I want to caution everybody, because a lot of people are like, oh, I've read tons of books, but I'm not making more sales. Well, do you know why? Because you don't retain what you read in a book. That's not the way the brain works. You read the book. This is a good start here. Go get the book. It's $17 or from Barnes & Noble. But you read this book. Do you know how much you're going to retain 2 days after you read it? 19%. 19% after 48 hours. A week later, it drops down to about 9 to 10%. Within 30 days, you're going to retain about 3.1%. 3.1%. Now, you're going to learn advanced tonality in the book. I don't know how you could, because you can't hear me. You're just reading words, right? And have you ever read a book that says 73% of the sales by your nonverbal and verbal skills? It's true.
Yeah.
But nobody knows how to teach you how to do that. So, books are great, but they're not going to double or triple your income. But that's a good start. But hey, if they want more like tips and everything, because I got to jump off here, I know you're busy. If they want more tips, we'll give them a little bit more nuggets. Have them go to one of our free Facebook groups, salesrevolution.pro, salesrevolution.pro, salesrevolution.pro. There's about 85,000 people in there, all salespeople, entrepreneurs, many of them probably in the industries that people listen to your podcast. And we go live in there 3 or 4 times a week, different Q&As, different subject matter training. And we give them nuggets and tips. They're just tips, not full-blown training. And then if they want like advanced training courses for our clients for their industries, they can just message us in there, hop on with an account manager, and they can go through all the different details.
Awesome.
But they can start in the Facebook group.
I'll put all the link, and I just bought your book. I love collecting books. They good. I read them. I'll do your course for sure at some point.
Sure.
And thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate the way that you communicate sales and your passion. And guys, make sure you go follow Jeremy. Make sure you follow his tip, because he's absolutely a legend in sales. And Jeremy, thank you. And I wish you a beautiful day.
Very kind. Now, if they follow me on Instagram, make sure they follow my verified account that has 500 some followers. There's 500,000 some followers, because there's a lot that are out there that try to sell you Bitcoin, the scam account. So, make sure you follow the
I'll put
verified
the
account
link.
there.
I'll put the link so they know which one. I'll put the link for the Facebook, the
Sure.
one that you just said,
Yeah.
and I'll put the link for your book on Amazon. So
No,
guys,
Barnes
just
and
follow the
Noble.
link.
Barnes and Noble.
Oh,
I
Barnes and
love
Noble is
Amazon,
better.
but we have a big deal with Barnes and Noble. It's about 35 cents more at Barnes and Noble. So if they're cool with spending an extra 35 cents so they can sell more, you're welcome. Have them go to barnesandnoble.com. I'd appreciate that. We have a much bigger deal with them than
Awesome.
Amazon.
Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day, my man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Bye.